part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Chase Smith, founder and CEO of Press Play Podcast. You may have heard me on the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast with Jeremy Powell, now wonderfully hosted by Holly Wetzel, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast with Sam Amico, or my own podcast, the Chase Smith Podcast. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about a brand new subscription-based podcast we're offering this football season, the Press Play Sports Podcast. This premium podcast feed will send all of the sports podcasts offered on the Press Play Podcast Network to one central feed. Yes, you can still follow and subscribe to all of our individual shows for free on every podcast platform. But if you wanted to consolidate your podcast feed and listen to them all in one location, the Press Play Sports Podcast is for you. I'm talking the Oranges and Oranger Browns podcast with Holly Wetzel and Jeremy Powell, Red Guy and Rhoda, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, Cavs on the Break, the Dennis Maniloff Show, the Ball Card Show, the Premium Fantasy Podcast, a Swing in a Tribe MLB podcast, and the Tim and Shipe Show, a college football podcast, all in one feed. All 9 of our sports shows curated into one single podcast feed. Out the door, you're looking at $5.36 a month after tax. That's $5.36, just about the cost of a drink at Starbucks. And this is only offered on Apple Podcasts. You can't get this anywhere else. It's an Apple Podcast exclusive. Just go to the search bar and search Press Play Sports. It'll come up and you can subscribe from there. We're excited to offer this consolidated, curated sports feed for you to enjoy. And as always, thank you so much for listening and your support.
This episode of the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Align Health Center. Align Health Center is the first chiropractic biophysics clinic in Northern Ohio. The team at Align Health Center helps patients with back pain, neck pain, migraines, ADHD, digestive issues, sleep disturbance, whiplash, scoliosis, and much more. And along with chiropractic biophysics, Align Health Center is also the leading clinic in regenerative medicine, also known as stem cell injections. And listen, you don't have to be an NFL player to get it done or have this treatment. If you have low back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, or arthritis, check out the Regenerative Medicine Clinic at Aligned Health Center. Come in for a free consultation, complete with imaging and x-rays to see how Aligned Health Center can help you. No multiple shots are needed, and it's complete with physical therapy built into the process, so there's no downtime. And look, it gets even better. Align Health Center doesn't charge people for x-rays or exams, and they don't bill you later. They let you know right away the cost. They're upfront and transparent. They are number one for a reason. Call Align Health Center today at 440-385-7357 or visit their website at alignedhealthcenters.com to make an appointment and to learn more about how Align Health Center can help you. Again, that's 440-385-7357 or visit alignedhealthcenters.com.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribb! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They blocked the kick!
Welcome into the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel, and I'm joined, as always, with Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, I thought about a lot of ways to start this week's episode because I was like going through like the stages of grief of like anger and like sadness and like all of the above. I'm trying to figure out like how I really wanted to start this, but I thought to steal, I think Chase wrote this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, but he stole it from Rex Chapman. If you remember Rex Chapman on Twitter, he's one of my favorite follows, but he always says that this is a safe place. Come here, let it out, So I just thought, you know what? Okay, I'll take like the softy route. The Orange is Oranger podcast is a safe place for everyone. So everyone come here, let it out. We are here for you. We're here to wipe your tears away with an old OBJ Browns jersey that'll be probably on the shelves and racks at TJ Maxx as we speak. So
right, about $9.99. Get your special now.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, what a disaster!
Right, but honestly, Jeremy, all jokes and sadness aside, of course, I'm weirdly enough, I got to a point on Sunday, and I'm sure you did too. I know we were all texting about it a little bit, that I just like stopped caring. I think Chase said he fell asleep. It was like the end of the third, and I was like, why if they don't give a shit, why do I give a shit? So like I ended up turning it off at the end of the third, early fourth, and I went to Target, which my day ended up getting worse, by the way, but which I'll tell you about later on. However, but I did go to Target. I'm like to try and bring some joy back into my life. But it's unbelievable how, and I tweeted this too, that we are like truly like the Jeckyll-and-Hyde of the NFL. And we're so incredibly inconsistent. And that's the only thing that is consistent about us. We can't escape drama, and what also bothered me last night watching OBJ's debut in LA was that my joy lately comes from, not even lately, just in general, my joy comes from the NFL watching a former Browns player play shitty and not my team play well. And that is an old school Browns mentality. And it's back. And it drives me crazy. I was way too excited to see OBJ go for 2 for 18 last night. And that's not okay. And we're just in this bad spot. And I'll let you get to your, I know you got a lot to say, but I want to read you this quote, which you probably have read too. But I thought this summed up where the Browns are at this season perfectly. So Jason Lloyd, editor-in-chief of The Athletic in Cleveland, friend of the show, of course. He said this in this article he wrote. He basically summed the Browns up as a talented team, but not a good team. He said, good teams have bad days, but they aren't this wildly inconsistent week to week. Good teams adjust schemes to stop where opponents keep attacking. Good teams either figure out how to get the defense off the field on third downs or keep their offense on it. Good teams don't commit silly pre-snap penalties.
Yeah.
That's
on the money.
On the money.
Yeah. I mean, look, we were 1 for 11 on third down, and they were something ridiculous, like 7 for 9 on third down. I mean, that's unbelievable. It's almost unbelievable and you want to hear something else unbelievable? That's 2 of the last 3 games we were 1 for 11 on third down. So there was 2 games over the last 3. We were 2 for 22 on third downs.
Oh God.
That is not NFL football. That was the Steelers game. And then yesterday, that is just unbelievable that it's that bad. And I don't think I've ever seen a game where a team was so thoroughly manhandled in all facets of the game. I mean, like we talked about, they were out coached, they were out physicaled, they were out schemed, they were out everything on all 3 facets of the game. It was just a butt whooping, a good old fashioned butt whooping. And, remember when we were bad in the Josh Cribb days? And remember what the saying was back then? We almost always almost win. At least we almost won those games. We were in this. This was as bad as I can remember. I was thinking back. I don't remember another 45-7, just absolute manhandling like that. It was just so bad. It was so bad all the way around.
We crumbled. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think what I want to know, and like what it keeps coming back to, is like, what's going on? Why? And the blame is across the board, right? But at some point, Jeremy, if you're a professional football player in the NFL, you are going to make plays, or you're going to get the job done. You're going to find a way. You are, or at the very least, like you said, be competitive and show up. I mean, we're not even asking them, at least with like the Chargers game, and they fought through and they kept going back, like tit for tat, right? Like they stayed in the game. They tried. I mean, this was just an abomination. And like I said, the blame goes across the board for many different reasons, especially with last week. But how do we go from that Bengals game where everyone played well at the same time, like on both sides of the ball, to that? It's quite mind-boggling to be that good one week and that shitty the next week. I don't understand it.
And it's almost like everything like we've talked about has to go perfect for us to play well. Like the Cincinnati game, you had a defensive touchdown early that kind of changed momentum.
Yeah.
You had the long run by Nick Chubb. You had the big play by Baker. It's almost like this. We can't, and we talked about this a bunch of times. The Browns can't go from behind. We just can't. That's just not how we are built.
Belichick sure knows that.
A couple touchdown lead and then run it. Yeah, exactly. And I want to know, you ever notice you see Belichick on the sideline writing on his little notepad? Wouldn't you love to see what he's writing on that little notepad that he keeps on the sideline, right? I saw him after our first score. He scribbled out a couple things. And then the rest of the game, it was like we couldn't do anything.
Like, I hate that we lose to a guy with that haircut. That drives me crazy.
And look, and his cutoff hoodies, he started the trend of not caring what you looked like on the sidelines. Remember how coaches used to dress nice? Remember Mike Ditka, the 85 Bears with his nice, pretty sweater? Now it's like because of Belichick kind of changed the culture on the sideline of who cares thing. No, but back to football, it's like it's just, you're right. I don't even have an explanation for how you can go that good to that bad that quick, except you're inconsistent and you're just not a good football team, right? I mean, what is being a good football team in the NFL is being able to take it week to week to week to week, right? And be consistent every week, doing the same things the same way over and over and over and over. And obviously we are not there yet. Now you could say injuries, and yes, we've been hit pretty hard, but so is everybody else. I mean, everybody in the NFL deals with injuries, right? We've had it bad, yeah, but you know what? Our defense was pretty darn healthy this weekend. That was almost as healthy as our defense had been going into a game. So you can't really blame that. So it's goes back to the Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. And right now we're a mediocre football team. That's what our record says. We're 5-5. We're mediocre. And until something changes, and schematically or with players, whatever it is, that's what we are. It's just a mediocre football team.
Right. And across the board, like we said, it's not just one to blame, but someone that does, fortunately or unfortunately, by default gets most of the blame is the quarterback. He's talk about most important position on the field. He commands that entire offense. He leads. He is the man. And our quarterback, Baker Mayfield, is just truly right now mediocre. And hurt or not, I heard, I was listening to local radio today and someone was on talking about how it's hard to gauge what grade you'd give Baker, or how Baker is this season because he's hurt. And I was like, no, it's not, you can't say that anymore. And I know that you and I've kind of beat this, it's like a dead horse at this point, but it's not. What my problem is with it now is that it's being kind of used when
convenient.
So Sunday, it was a lot of, Baker had a knee injury he went out with, which I also heard someone call up and say today that he was faking it, which I certainly don't think he was faking it. Giving that guy way too much credit. But a lot of the injuries start to kind of come up to the forefront when we lose. And not that it's using it as an only excuse, but it does seem to kind of float up. And I think that maybe that is a natural thing, that you want to try and find reasons to why things happen the way that they did. And I'd rather just hear I sucked. I was not where I needed to be. I didn't throw the ball where I needed to be. And not that he's bad with taking accountability, because I think Baker is very good with that. But it's at what point now? We are in year 4 of him, and of all the things that happen, we've given excuse after excuse or reason after reason of why, or to justify his type of play back and forth. How, God bless Chase Smith. Okay. Because that dude, I don't know what he's on, but I would like some of that, because
that's the most loyal Baker boy ever.
Oh, he's still on it. He still wants to pay this dude. Jeremy.
He's he could not believe that everybody was up in arms about it. I think he was a little bit in shock that everybody now is sort of, questioning Baker and asking tough questions. And I think that took Chase, as president of the Baker Mayfield fan club, it took him a little bit by surprise. But look, I heard something nationally, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate or not. They say if you go back and watch Baker's best games, it's when everything's on time and in rhythm. And it's when teams are playing a lot of zone to combat our run game. So when teams go into man coverage, the Baker has a lot of problems throwing guys open, and that if everything's not perfectly in rhythm on these plays and they're not playing against a specific coverage, that Baker has a lot of issues. And, I don't know if that's accurate or not. I haven't studied the tape enough to know if it's accurate, but it does make sense. And, Baker, I don't know if it's like we talked about before, seeing the stuff or what his mindset is, but it just feels that way. And also you gotta, talk a little bit about, now at the beginning of the year, we talked about this abundance of riches we had at skill positions. Now you start to look at the outside, who can really make a play on one, in a man-to-man situation. Who do we have on the outside that we're confident can make a play right now? Jarvis is banged up. He's not the Jarvis of old. Donovan Peoples-Jones probably, but he's still green. He's still got some, he's only played in 12, 14 games in his career. So he's still a little green. Anthony Schwartz, no. The funny thing about Anthony Schwartz is he's supposed to be the fastest guy in the NFL, yet he looks slow on the field to me. I don't know if he hasn't caught up to the game speed. He never looks like he's about to break anything when he brings kickoffs back. He just does not look fast on the field.
No, he doesn't.
So Higgins has disappeared again. And, it's got to be a Higgins thing. Everyone always blames the coaches about why Higgins doesn't get touches. Well, obviously it's multiple regimes now where Higgins can't get on the field, stay on the field, and be seen. So you don't really have anyone on the outside right now that can beat man-to-man coverage, can make a play when you need it. It's just not there. And so part of it is Baker, and part of it probably is he doesn't have anyone to make a play for him right now when you're seeing these tight man sticky coverages.
Right. And so to kind of put the icing on the cake of what you just served, they went 0 for 10 on Sunday getting open for single man coverage. And they've only defeated single man coverage 27%. So it's just, it's pretty mind boggling. And I agree. And also my brother sent me this stat too today. He's like, he sends me like one stat a week. He's like, oh, add this onto your pod.
No, that's
cool. Rex Ryan said last night, I guess, boy, Rex Ryan's been in hot water today. 14 times in Baker's career, his team has been outrushed by 50 yards or more. His record is 0-14 in those games.
That's the least surprising stat I've heard all day. It's just, it backs up exactly what me and you have been saying this whole season, that there's a formula. It's like Baker Mayfield, as much as people hated to hear this, is Kirk Cousins. They're they're a similar guy, and they're system type guys, they're game manager type guys that when you have your running game going and everything is working smooth, they can win a game. But when they have to be the guy to elevate everybody else to win a game, it's probably not going to happen. So that's where we're at. And it comes back to, do you want to pay that guy $40 million a year to be a game manager and have to have perfect situations around him? And, a lot of the experts outside of Cleveland that we've talked to, that the Mike Lombardis of the world, they don't think you should. They don't think it's smart. The only people that seem that really want to go do whatever it takes to pay and keep Baker, long-term are people here. Because, and you can't blame
this rate.
It's just the fact that we were so bad at quarterback for so long. Just getting average quarterback play was great, but at some point you have to step up to the next level. We have to move from here. We can't just be an 8-8, 9-10, 8-8, 8-9, now 9-8, whatever team. We have to elevate at some point somehow. Yeah,
and also, Jeremy, just own our identity. We're a run first team, and why Stefanski abandoned the run so early last week?
No sense.
I don't get it. Is he panicking? Does he not?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Is he trying to prove something with Baker? I just don't. I don't get what the reasoning is behind him doing that. We're not really getting any clear. Obviously, we're not getting any clear answer from him anyway. Like we don't every fucking week. Sorry.
Yeah. And let me say this, because I posted something like that somewhere on Facebook. He does not want to embrace the fact that we are a run first team. If you listen to, like me and you both do, all his press conferences, anytime it's brought up, he does not want to acknowledge that we're a run first team. He wants to be multifaceted. He wants to be, score however we have to score. But look, embrace it. At this point in the year, that's our only bet to chance, is embrace the fact that we are a run first team. Look at how New England physically impose their will on us. Look at the style that they played. That's a style that we could do. We have the two best guards in the damn league. We got two of the best running backs in the league when they're back, which I'm sure Chubb will be back this week. Play that smash mouth, power football. Play it, embrace it, play it. That's where strengths are, I don't want to say it's an ego thing, because I don't believe that he has a huge ego. I just think it's he likes a specific style, and he wants that to be, how they play.
Right.
But I think at this point right now, if they're really going to make a run these last 7 weeks, it's got to start with the running game. And it's got to end with the running game, as in we got to start the game running the ball, and we got to kill the game running the clock out. So that's just what it's going to have to be. And part of it is Baker, and part of it is we don't have the talent on the outside that we thought we had. So we got to play our strengths, and that's the strength of this team, is the middle of the offensive line and the running backs.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So, and we need to stay ahead. We need to get ahead and stay ahead, obviously. So. Yep. All right. Well, let's take a quick break, Jeremy, and when we'll come back, we'll talk maybe some playoff possibilities, which are dying. The Lions next week, and then we're going to take it back to our childhood. I have some fun games for Jeremy. I've been inspired by the Squid Game series, so
looking forward to it. Let's go.
Browns edition. So we'll be right back.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene and, when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
This is Mike Voorhees, co-host of the Swingin' a Tribe MLB podcast. If you love Cleveland Indians baseball, then this is the pod for you. We've got you covered each week as we talk about all the games, breaking news, trades, the roster, all things Tribe. You're going to love it. Go Tribe.
Hey, it's Tito, host of the Premier Fantasy Podcast. Get all the news and analysis you need to dominate your fantasy league. I've been doing this as long as anybody in the business. I can help give you the edge in your leagues. It's the Premier Fantasy Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
and me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, we are back on the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel, joined always as with Mr. Jeremy Powell, Browns insider. Okay, so we just talked the bleak state of the Browns, and we're going to continue that bleak state by talking about playoff possibilities. So, Jeremy, look, it's pretty amazing. Actually, I was seeing this take a lot. All right, now I'm back on I'm like the baker of whether or not you should get back on Twitter, because I'm like 1 week, yes, other week, stay away. But like this past week was about how like, well, we still got a chance, AFC is still wide open and like other teams, this and that. And it's like that is not a justification for shit in the bed, and that's what people were trying to justify on Twitter while the banker hawks. But basically we know our best path right now is to win the AFC North. That's really our way in. But even if we still want to make the playoffs, we need to win 5 of the last 7.
7, right.
Just to have a chance with help. So that means we need to beat Baltimore twice. We need to beat the Bengals again, and we need to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Or the Raiders at home.
Or the Raiders at home, yes.
Because we got the Lions this week. I do think we'll win this week. Spoiler alert. I do think the Browns are going to win this week because we're good against bad teams, right? So I think the Browns will win this week. I guess I don't call it a silver lining, but it has been a strange year. And I think the Ravens, I almost posted today on Facebook that I predicted that the Ravens don't make the playoffs. And the Ravens have played awful the last 3 weeks for anyone who's been paying attention. They almost lost to the Vikings. They should have lost to the Vikings. Then they got beat up on by the Dolphins, and the Bengals smoked them the week before that, 41-17.
Right.
So, they are not playing well. They've had more injuries than us. I mean, they have top 3 running backs out for the year. They can't find anyone to tote the ball. It's I think I saw a crazy stat. It's like Lamar Jackson's responsible for like 87% of their offense right now. And that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to have one guy carrying that kind of load. It's just not. So I think you're right. Our best bet to make for us is probably going to be to win the division because we have so many negative tiebreakers now because we've lost to the Chargers. We've lost to the Patriots. We've lost to a bunch of teams that we could be tied with. Our AFC record is bad because of all those losses in the AFC. Yep. So the tiebreaker situation is bleak. So like you said, our best bet is to try to burn through these AFC North games and win them all. And then see where the chips lie. But I don't even think it's impossible to go 5-2. I think it is possible, but we have to develop a identity quick and a rhythm and, play better football than we've been playing. So
get back to the basics that we know that work.
Right. Exactly. So hopefully, and you can't, and then also there's the problem of losing the team. Look, Myles Garrett called out the coaches after the game, Also, I'm sure that he wasn't the only one in the locker room saying, what are we doing here? Myles saying we're not making any adjustments. No one's talking. We're just, get to the sideline. No one's saying anything. Of course, Coach Stefanski disputed that and said he had to talk with Myles about it. But I mean, look, who knows? Who knows where we're at right now? Who knows? Maybe there was a deer in the headlights thing because of how that game was going and how we got out coached so badly. So, So yeah, I don't know, but I will say I know you're right. The glimmer of hope Twitter there, but the glimmer of hope is that it's been a strange year and teams are getting 1 week look great and they're getting shellacked the next week. So there is, look last night, the San Francisco looked like they were dead and buried for the season, and then they come out and smack around the Rams. So who knows?
All right, Jeremy. So you are confident with the Lions then this week? You think we're going to get the dub?
Yeah. We beat bad teams. That's what we do. We beat bad teams. We lose the good teams.
Well,
that's where we're at.
What I'm a little worried about, which I was like, yeah, we'll beat them. But like they almost lost. They almost beat the Steelers last week.
Almost beat the Ravens.
They almost beat the Ravens. I will never understand a tie. Like, get the fuck out of here with the ties. I'm so over it. This is not soccer.
Even if you have to go to the college style, like you got to start from the 20 and go and do something. You can't have ties. I agree. I'm with you there.
Over the ties, and I feel like that would only just screw up stuff with the playoffs. So, anyway, I there's a slight worry in me. It's actually not slight. It's decent worry that we somehow screw up on Sunday. And I don't know. I really hope that it is the Jeckyll-and-Hyde week. So technically we're due, right, for like a good week. So we'll see. But I don't know. Well, what's your prediction, I guess, score wise?
Let me tell you this. I think we're going to blow them out. I think it's going to be a 28-10 type deal. I think that Miles is going to have a monster game against Penny Sewell, the rookie left tackle. I mean, I'm telling you, their receivers are, you have confidence in Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kadero Hodge is their third receiver. And I love Kadero Hodge.
I know. I love him too.
Trinity Benson. Like guys that, unless you are a hardcore NFL guy, you've never heard any of these guys.
Yeah.
I like Jamal Williams. He's their starting running back, former Packer. I think he's a nice player, but he's like a platoon type running back. They don't have any talent on offense. No talent. Jared Goff is awful. At one point last week, he had, I think, 40 yards passing in the fourth quarter against the Steelers. I think he ended the game with under 100. I mean, it's just there's no talent on that offense. They play hard because they got a hard-nosed old school coach. We'll see how long that sticks if they keep losing over and over. But I just think that I think the Browns are going to beat them. I think the Browns are going to play well. I think if Nick Chubb is back, he's going to have a huge game. I think that Myles Garrett's going to have a huge game. I think the defense will play well because there's no talent on that offense. And I think that when the Browns, if like we talked about, they commit to running the ball and we have our guys back, that we'll be able to run the ball. And hopefully Coach Stefanski has learned a lesson and we stick with it and we run it down their throats. And I think we will. And I think this will be similar to that Bears game. I think it was a final 26. No, not the Bears. Bears game. 26-6 was the final. The defense kind of dominated. The offense picked it up in the second half, ran the ball well. I can see something like that. 28-10. I'm saying 26-6 score. I think you'll see a similar outcome. And then it's like right now, every week's a playoff game. At this point. So this 6-5 extends us another week, and what's the next week? Ravens Monday night or Sunday night.
Right.
Sunday Night Football, the Ravens. So that's where I think we'll be. I think we will win. I think it'll be a fairly big win, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to pull it out. Interesting. My dad and I were talking about this on Saturday. And he was saying, I can't remember who he says this or who said this, but like these bad teams, when they're playing when they're playing one of the best teams, I'll still include the Browns in that this is like their Super Bowl. That's why they put everything into it. And for us, it's not even close to something like that. And that's why these upsets happen. And I can't remember who he said that. It was some famous coach, and I can't remember, legendary coach, but I'm like, he's like, that's, you know, and that's what we were talking about. Cause I was like, I'm still kind of worried. And he's like, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense because, you know, there are these teams sometimes view this game against you, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I've said that I'll disagree is I think the Browns I think the Browns know they're just okay right now. And I think they're not going to play. They know they have to play a great game to beat these guys. They can't just show up and roll the ball and play. I think they know that. And I think the Browns are going to come out and play. And look, you still got, and I know this is sounding silly, but I think that Myles Garrett's big on personal stats. I think he likes his stats.
Oh yeah. I agree.
I think he knows, you know, there was I can't remember what game it was last year where he got hurt at the end of the game when the game was out of reach because it looked like he was maybe trying to stat chase a little bit at the end of the game. So I think that you'll see him have a big game. He'll want to come out and, you know, he's still got a legit shot at setting the sack record. Mm-hmm. So, you know, little things like that. So I think he'll come out and have a big game. I just, and this team is so devoid of talent. I mean, when you look through this whole roster, this is a bad football team.
Yeah.
There's a reason they haven't won a game. They're bad. They're bad everywhere.
Right.
And so I don't see it. I see the Browns winning this game and extending the season another week. And hey, at the very least, we'll have something to talk about next week. So
don't we always?
My prediction is 28-10. Yeah. No matter what, we'll have something to talk about next week.
We always do.
If they lose, we will really have something to talk about.
Man, oh man.
We might be on coach watch here if at least defensive coach Joe Woods watch if they lose this week. So.
Yep, you said it. Well, so we'll take a little fun turn because if we don't laugh, we will cry. Right? Isn't that the same? So,
right.
We are in honor of Squid Game, which I mentioned earlier. And I was trying to find something fun for Jeremy and I to do and to hopefully get Jeremy to chuckle over there. We're going to do a little bit of Squid Game-inspired Browns, a little trivia game or a couple. And no one's dying. It's just Browns related. But whoever,
so we could die.
Right, exactly. But whoever you get rid of, Jeremy, is it's basically that.
And let's preface this, Ali, with let people know I have no idea what's coming here.
He doesn't.
No clue.
I texted
completely in the dark.
I texted last night him and Chase, and I love that we've talked about Chase like he's been here this entire show.
Right.
But and I was like, Jeremy, I have this idea. I'm gonna send you. I'm like, I don't want to tell you, and like, I think you just like liked my message, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah. He's probably like, what the hell is she doing over there? So, but yes, I didn't want you to know because I thought it would be more fun that way. So, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first game that we are going to play. Okay. First one we're going to play is musical chairs. Okay.
Okay.
Browns edition musical chairs. There are 3 spots. There are 4 players. All right. Who's getting booted for the 4th chair out of these 4? Joe Woods, Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski, Dearness Johnson.
Ooh, the first one, you got Joe Woods. I think that's an easy one.
That's who you're booting.
We're not quite there on Baker yet. We're definitely not there on Coach Stefanski yet. Dearness Johnson, no way. Hey, Dearness is a big part of the team. So yeah, Joe Woods. If I'm booting one right now, it's Joe Woods.
Okay. Next question. If you're playing hide and seek and you are the seeker, which Browns player or coach is going to be the hardest to find this season? Who has been the hardest to find this season?
So as in, who is MIA right now?
Who is MIA? Who's the best hider of the hide and seek who we've been trying to find all season?
Here's one I'll get. Here's an off the Ronnie Harrison. Ronnie Harrison came in last year. Looked like he was going to be a nice player. had some injuries but made some plays. He's been on the field. He hasn't been hurt. When's the last time you saw Ronnie Harrison make a play? Remember anything?
That's a great, yeah.
I'll say Ronnie, and then we'll do an offensive one too. Rashard Higgins that we talked about.
Yeah,
Rashard's been MIA since he dropped that pass in the Pittsburgh game. He hasn't. I don't think has he had a target? Doesn't even feel like he's had a target. I think he only played 5 snaps 2 weeks ago, and so we'll say Ronnie Harrison on defense and Rashard Higgins on offense.
I think he's caused quite a few penalties too, if I'm remembering correctly. All right.
Some of the legal formation stuff. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next one. You're picking teams like kickball status. Okay.
Okay.
Good old kickball, which I was terrible at, by the way. I was always last picked. Who is your first pick, and who's the last person that's getting picked and that you're stuck with?
Well, if we're playing kickball, my first pick is going to be the Scottish Hammer, right? Jamie Gillian. You either got to take him or I'll take the Scottish Hammer. Because he's a little bit athletic as well, right? He can run a little bit.
He is.
So if we're playing kickball, the first, and who's the last pick?
Yeah.
Who is the guy you don't want on your kickball team?
You're stuck with, not even that you have to pick that, like literally the last one, and you're like, shit.
Who's the biggest, slowest guy? Blake Hance, maybe? The biggest.
Some guy named Blake, which is so perfect.
Yeah, Blake would be Blake. Some guy named Blake would be our last pick in the family reunion kickball game.
Too funny. Okay. Last one is just rapid fire this or that. Okay. This person or this person. Off the cuff. Don't think about it. Ready?
Okay.
Hunter Chubb.
Chubb.
Stefanski or Barry?
Stefanski.
Browns, Elf, or Chomps?
Chomps.
Mac Wilson or Jedrick Wills?
Jedrick.
I had to think about that last one. All right, that's all I had for you. I just wanted to have some fun. I needed to smile.
That was fun. That was cool. That was a good job. That was cool.
Thanks.
I like that. I really like the rapid fire pick one.
Yeah, I could have kept going with the rapid fire. I was trying to make it a little hard, like with 2 really good picks versus 2 terrible picks plus Browns, Elf, or Chomps. Like, what the hell? Here's why I love Chomps. The Browns are, believe it or not, incredibly active in youth football in the area. And so they'll send Chomps out to youth games every once in a while. A couple of years ago, they sent Chomps out, and whoever was Chomps that day was so into these youth games. It was unbelievable. The kids loved it. I think he was there for 4 hours. He was there all day long. And, taking pictures with the kids, going nuts when the kids scored, running out in the field during warmups and catching passes. So Chomps was awesome that day. So that's why Chomp's my guy. Yeah, he's also, of all the, I've encountered all mascots for all of the professional teams in Cleveland and even minor league. And he's the least creepy out of all of them. So
Moon Dog's a little creepy there.
I wish people could see my face. So Sliders up there too. You guys, you're all creeps. So
a little slider dance there.
Oh, doesnn he love that?
Oh, that's funny. That's good stuff.
All right. Well, should be interesting.
Speaking of that, speaking of Moondog and the Cavs and all that.
Yeah.
How about that? We are not allowed to have nice things, right? Cavs looking phenomenal. I've been up there for. I have the monthly pass. I think we've talked about. It's the greatest deal in sports. It's literally $90 a month. You're guaranteed a lower level seat to every game that month, and I've locked it in for the whole season. So I have 2 of them, so I can take people to the games. The only catch is you can't sell the tickets. You have to either go or not go. But it's an incredible deal.
That's a pretty good deal. That's a good trade-off.
It comes out to like $12 a game. It's crazy. But so I've been up to 3 or 4 games already, and the atmosphere is electric. I was up there when we went on the 21-2 run to beat the Celtics the other night, and Ricky Rubio playing some of his best ball. But of course, we find out today, Evan Mobley out 2 to 4 weeks with the elbow. Jared Allen's out now for next couple of days sick. Hopefully we get Love and Markkanen back soon, and Colin Sexton out. So 9-6 off to the best start in 5 years. Of course, injuries.
And I don't think this next 2 weeks too are going to be big for them. So
yeah, and I don't think they're going to completely fall apart. I think there's talent there, and these guys like each other, and you could see Ricky Rubio drew what looked like a charge, and they ended up calling it a blocking foul, and the whole team ran out. You know, it's just there's just a lot of energy right now. And people remember Ricky Rubio was great in the Olympics this past year. He was awesome. Yeah. And I heard that Bernie Bickerstaff said when they acquired him, they told him, we want a national team Ricky Rubio. He has been absolutely fantastic. He's been a joy to watch. So, hey, if the Brown season goes completely south, at least we got something to do, right?
Yep, 100%. I know.
So, but like we said, though, there's always something to talk about the Browns, because we never just fail. It's not, we fail spectacularly. If it goes way south, like I talked about 4 weeks ago, it's going to be, we'll still have plenty to talk about.
We will. Yes. There's not been the Orange is Orange hasn't been around just this year. So, and successful.
We went through 0-16 and 1-15. So
right.
we saw it.
Yeah, don't tell me about pain.
Right.
So yeah. All right. Well, be an interesting weekend. Let's hope we get the dub. My little brother's in town with his girlfriend. I'm hoping that we get a W and show them a good time. That would be really, really nice.
Are you going to the game?
So
you guys going up there?
No, we're going to be downtown for it, though. We got a little viewing party area. And,
cool.
So we got a little place to sit and chat. I'm old, Jeremy. I'm not standing anywhere. All right. My ass is sitting.
Okay.
All right. And I don't know if that's bougie or what, but that's just how life is.
That's what it is.
It's just how it is. So, all right. Well, join us next week on the Orange is Orange Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel, again, joined with Jeremy Powell. If you like us, hopefully you do, click the like and subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, and check us out at pressplaypodcast.com. And Jeremy, go Browns.
Well, let's go. Let's go Browns.